Attention duelists, we have a new ban list. Effective from September 15th, 2025, so the upcoming Monday, the format will change and, surprisingly, significantly. I feel like the game was already in a pretty good spot from most standpoints, from everything I've gathered talking to other people and things like that. The game is a lot of fun right now and really enjoyable, and just a couple of problem cards here and there that might need to be addressed. So we didn't really need a ban list, and we definitely didn't need a large one, but believe me, we got a pretty big one anyways. So let's jump right into it. First up, Glow Up Bulb. This is fine. This is still a good card. Depending on the format, this definitely can still see play, but as long as it's legal, the amount of copies for this doesn't make a big difference, as this is once per duel, obviously. Then we have, in anticipation of the true Draco support, Masterpiece coming back at 3, as well as down here, Dragonic Diagram. So this was somewhat expected and is completely fine. Like, even with the new support, the deck isn't too crazy, and by today's standards, outing a Masterpiece is not that big of an issue. Like, cards like a Dancer are just a lot crazier versions of Masterpiece than the OG. Morphing Jar coming back, fine. Phantom Skyblaster as well. Snake Eye Ash and Poplar is interesting. With OSS banned, the deck will not be too crazy. We also don't have Apple and things like that, but there's definitely still some potential in these cards and room for them to see play somewhere. Lightning Storm to 3 is also influential. Obviously this is a really good card. The thing is, with Lightning Storm, Raigeki, Duster, we already have a lot of cards that do similar things to this, so that the extra copy doesn't matter that much, but it's a good card, and having one more of it definitely is impactful. And lastly, Zodiac Barrage back to 3, which pretty cool change. Definitely fine, but this is Zodiac is the kind of engine that has potential to see play in the future, even if right now it's not too crazy. Like, maybe Zodiac Ryzel even could be some interesting stuff. Then the semi-limits, we just have Branded Fusion in anticipation of the new structure deck. It's not, I think it's not called structure deck, but it kind of is. So give that a little bit boost, as well as like the finale of the branded Albaz Lore anime. So not very surprising. Interestingly, could also be somewhat of a boost to Draco Tail. Not quite sure things pan out there. I don't think the branded variant is the best Draco Tail variant right now, but definitely a slight boost there. And now we get to the big one, the limited section, and this is where they did everything, kind of. We're limiting X Ryzel, which is okay. Like, I feel like Ryzel itself is actually in a fine spot right now and wouldn't need a hit, but it's just way too synergistic with too many other things to where addressing it more, hitting it more, does make sense. Like, the Ryzel cards, they should have locked you out of more other things, but they don't, and that way they synergize way too well with other rank 4 engines, and for them not to all use X Ryzel, which is a crazy card. It's a board breaker, it's super flexible, it's a searcher, it's an extender, it literally does everything. Extra Zeal is insane. But like I said, in the context of Pure Raizia, I think it would be fine. The reason it needs to get addressed is the combined variants. Then we have Dormouse to 1, pretty obvious hit for Malice. Just hurt the consistency a little bit more, put the best starter a little bit further down, but a slap on the wrist for the deck, but definitely doesn't kill it. And now we get to, I feel like, the craziest part of the list, which is limiting Vanquish Soul Razen. And I've thought a little bit about this, and yeah, this, first of all, VSK9 is kind of the best deck right now, but it's not like by leaps and bounds, like by any means. Like Yummy is very, very close. Like you could even make an argument for Yummy to be the better deck, actually. Yummy is a lot more consistent, a lot more reliable, but obviously doesn't have that insane ceiling Vanquish Soul K9 provides. So, hitting that deck a little bit definitely is fine. The thing is, I feel like the problem with the Vanquish Soul K9 deck are the K9 cards and not the Vanquish Soul cards. Obviously, it comes together in a way where the K9 just provide a really, really high ceiling, whereas the Vanquish Soul cards bring back kind of the grind game or inevitability with the burn damage, which together is really, really strong, especially considering how many resources the K9 cards just keep for the Vanquish Souls. Personally, I would have liked a hit that's more tailored to the K9 cards. Obviously, apparently we still don't just hit new archetypes directly, but even then, there were other avenues, like you could have hit Nash Knight or Umbral Horror or something like that, make the K9 end board a little bit weaker, take the ceiling of the deck down. But they chose to hurt Vanquish Soul instead, taking away like one of their starters. Did I say one of? They took another one. They not only took Razen to 1, they also down here put Stake Your Soul to 1. And I think this is very, very harsh. In the sense, like I said, in the sense of addressing VSK9, there definitely is a world where you do a meaningful hit to the deck. But considering Vanquish Soul, like the deck got its new support that brought it back to the forefront of the meta, even its pure version, like before Justice Hunters, Vanquish Soul Pure was already performing really, really well. But this almost kills the deck not even 2 months after they got the new support that made them relevant again. I think that's really harsh, really early on, where, especially considering that, again, Vanquish Soul itself, I think, is pretty fair. The issue arises from Vanquish Soul gaining the ceiling and consistency of K9. Consistency in quotes, because the deck already was quite bricky, and putting these starters to 1 hurts that even more. It makes the Vanquish Soul part of the deck even more normal summon reliant and even less consistent, which both already were issues. So Vanquish Soul K9 might actually be dead from this. It may just be too bricky to actually be highly tiered. I'm not 100% sure on this. Like, there are different avenues you can take. You can run pots, you can maybe even play Small World or 7th Tachyon, although I think that's really iffy. Maybe if you just put in 3 Extravagance plus the Prosperity, there is a way to do this, especially if you play more fires and like the Rescue Ace engine. Jiaolong maybe becoming somewhat of a consistent starter if you cheat him out with the K9s. Like, I can still imagine the deck to be like fine, to be decent, but it's definitely those are definitely very, very harsh hits, especially considering that with Doom of Dimensions right around the corner, it doesn't really benefit from that. Like, the new K9 card Noroi is good, but the Vanquish Soul variant from all the K9 variants was clearly the one that appreciated Noroi the least. Like, Crystron likes Noroi a lot more. Even pure K9 strategies or like K9 Fiendsmith things could have been possible with Noroi, whereas for Vanquish Soul K9 it would have just been a one-off option to get for case if you don't have any way into the Vanquish Soul engine and just want to make the pure K9 board a little bit better. So all in all, for Vanquish Soul, I feel like this hit is just too harsh. I feel like I said, maybe banning Nash Knight plus Razen to 1, or Razen and Stake Your Soul to 2, something like that, I definitely could see. But this is really, really harsh for a deck that just recently got back to true meta relevance. But looking at the other changes, we also have Fiendsmith's Lacrima, which is obviously a really good card. It makes the Fiendsmith engine a lot better. But the most annoying part about this were the time rules. In my opinion, the random burn deciding games in time, which with the new time rules is no longer relevant, so this card definitely can come back. Then we have Summon Sorceress coming back with the errata completely fine, and I want to talk about these together. Link Kuriboh returning from banned, Herald of the Arclight going to 1, and Obedience Schooled going to 1. So these are obviously changes for Yummy. First up, Obedience Schooled, good hit. With how harshly you hit Vanquish Soul, in my opinion, this could have been banned. Like, it's the best starter for Yummy, and this, even banning it, doesn't kill the deck at all. At all. The deck would still be really consistent. There still are a lot of consistency options the deck doesn't really play. Like, most people aren't even on Piri Piri Rise map or something like that. In the OCG, a lot of people aren't even playing a lot of engages, and they also get another starter in the next set. So the deck would still be really consistent. Just the quality of starters would have gone down a bit, which is fine because Obedience School, completely crazy card. That said, Herald of the Arclight to 1 doesn't really change a lot. I think it's fine. Banning it would have been really, really harsh to Yummy. But with it being at 1, a lot of people do play the second one, but it doesn't really come up that often. And now they just make it so, well, if you out it once, at least there won't be a second one, which I think is completely fine. Linkuriboh, on the other hand, considering this, I feel like is a little bit of an issue. Because from the Yami perspective, I feel like I would always trade the second Herald for one Linkuriboh. Simply because having the Linkuriboh, Yami will 100% play this and try to make this every single turn 1, because it makes the Herald, the first Herald they make, so much harder to out. Now you can't just easily summon a monster, run over it. That just doesn't work, and I feel like this makes Yami actually feel a lot worse and more oppressive to play against. If you just look at these two changes, considering the Obedience School to 1, the deck definitely still gets slightly worse, but I don't really think this changes that much, especially how hard they hit the other best deck. Then we have Trident coming back. We already talked about it with Barrage coming back to 3. Obviously with Trident now that really makes sense. That's basically just kind of a 4-card engine people can put in the deck to just get an additional pop. Really, really good, and for certain decks there may even be more interesting stuff in this engine. We already have this in Master Duel and it really doesn't do a whole lot, but just the small engine being a pop and threatening a Zeus, honestly pretty good and could definitely see play in the future, but is still completely fine to have around. So really glad that finally we have this card back. And then we have Crystron Inclusion, the hit to the other Canine deck, which honestly I think is weird. First of all, for a similar reason to the Vanquish Soul hits, like Crystron and Vanquish Soul suffering basically for the sins of Canine in a lot of ways here. And then I don't even think that this changes that much about the deck. Like, it definitely makes it less consistent, and was it Sulfador or Sulfafnir? The one that sends to plus Jokul was the clear best opener of the deck, but Jokul plus any 5 was full combo, and we're also getting Noroi, which can bridge into the Crystrons in another way. So once Doom of Dimensions comes out, this really doesn't get any less consistent. Whereas Pure Crystron probably suffers quite a lot from this. I'm not too well versed in Pure Crystron, but I imagine that that deck actually suffers quite a lot from this. And again, I would have loved a more generic hit here. I don't know. Scrap Recycler or River Stormer just kills the deck, which is definitely difficult. Maybe you could have banned like Infinity or something like that, just make the board a little bit more susceptible by taking away the Omni Negate, things like that. I feel like there were better things to be done here, but just giving the deck a slap on the wrist, like just a slide hit, that's important. That's definitely impactful, but doesn't fundamentally change the way the deck operates or kills it. Is ultimately fine. And then we have Solemn Judgment to 1, which honestly I also quite like. I think it's a pretty cool card. The issue with it is that it's really, really strong going first, and obviously if people side it in, that can really get oppressive, although the paying off your life points actually is influential. Like, even if Solemn Judgment makes it a lot more difficult to establish, if you can do it, like going second if you can still establish through the judgment and the board your opponent set up. It suddenly becomes really easy to kill them on that turn. So there definitely are disadvantages to this, and I for sure prefer judgment being like the going first side deck staples over all the floodgates, Tikaboo, skill drain, whatever. But still a fine hit. I feel like these cards that are only sided for ensuring you win going first, I feel like that's, at least for generic cards, always kind of cringe, to be honest. So definitely not mad to have this back at 1. And then we get to the bans, where we finally ban Moon. I feel like at this point it wasn't really necessary anymore, but definitely it has been a good change for a long time, and I'm not going to be mad that we get it now. Especially now with Moon being banned, the Lacrima unban makes a lot more sense. Like, we make the Fiendsmith engine better, but not every deck is gonna get to play it now. Obviously the decks that have Light Fiends on their own can still play it, and we still have Exciter Knight, as well as the, I think it's one of the Djinns, the rank 3 Light Fiend. So there definitely are still ways to access the deck, to access the engine for a lot of other decks, but without Moon, it not being an option for literally everything that can put 2 bodies on the board without locking itself too much is a good thing in my opinion. Then we have Splash Mage, another hit for Malice. Good hit in my opinion, makes Malice a little bit more susceptible to hand traps, and so that they can't extend as easily when they have like 2 bodies left over. You obviously still have other options like SP or Lizardos banishing one of your names, but that does need one of the names. That does expend one of the once per turns, where Splash Mage does not. So definitely a welcome change. Any link to that provides another body to then link climb, I think is inherently iffy. I feel like all of these cards, at least if they're too generic or even somewhat generic, could pose issues. So Splash Mage, I feel like, in the context of the way how they wanted to hit Malice, like, make it a little bit worse but not kill the deck, especially considering like we also hit the Justice Hunters deck quite a bit here, so hitting Malice and Ryzeal, toning them down a little bit so that we don't get back into Malice and Ryzeal format, definitely makes sense. And Splash Mage, like I said, even outside of Malice, a kind of a problematic card. Then King of the Feral Imps, good ban again. This is similar to Moon, honestly, where this allows any deck that can make a rank 4 to bridge into the Mitsurugi engine, most notably obviously Ryzeal. And these kind of bridges, I feel like, are inherently an issue. Yes, you could argue, well, maybe Ryzeal should lock you more, and definitely it should, but whenever there is such an oversight, these bridges being around means that this is a lot more likely to be like a lot easier to exploit. So taking care of them, and Banshee, by the way, as well, like Flame Banshee is another candidate for this. In my opinion, is a good choice, and right now I feel like pure Ryzeal is, even before this ban list, entirely fine. Pure Mitsurugi as well. We do get an issue once you can play them together, which Feral Imps is the main card that this allows, because it just allows decks to kind of cheat what they are supposed to do. Like, Mitsurugi is a deck with like really strong grind game and very good interactions, but not too many of them, and really not having that high of a ceiling, which Ryzeal fixes. Like, Ryzeal made the deck more consistent, gave it a higher ceiling, and like just detonator, like just 2, 3, 4 pops of detonator on top of the Mitsurugi end board just really pushed it over the top. It's been fine since Justice Hunter's release, but addressing this and making the Mitsurugi deck play the more fair variant, the more down-to-earth variant, is a good change in my opinion. And then we have the card everyone expected, Paradise Smasher. This was obvious, this had to be banned. Like, if we have gotten a list without this, I feel the backlash would have been crazy. Honestly, it's not even that good. It doesn't come up that often because, first off, it's kind of unreliable, and second of all, you have to actually invest quite a lot of resources into it to make it work. So it definitely didn't come up that often, but it did come up, and whenever it comes up, just basically skipping your opponent's turn in almost every matchup for sure was very frustrating and not fun at all. But talking about frustrating and not fun at all, there's a card missing here too, actually, that I feel like definitely had to be on this list. And the first one is Protoss, or like any of the cards that get you to Protoss. I already like kind of discussed this in my banlist discussion. I feel like you should just ban Protoss, but I would have been fine with Banshee or Flag or like on this as well. That said, not hitting any of them definitely is an oversight. Like the Ryzeal variants, Ryzeal with this basically just only has the toxic the really toxic variants left. Like, yes, Mitsurugi made too strong of an end board, but at least it didn't like turn skip you or hand loop you, which, guess what, the remaining Ryzeal variants do. Like Heraldic Ryzeal, hand looping people, and like basically all Ryzeal variants having access to Protoss is just annoying. Like, in my opinion, that's a big oversight, and that should not be this way. And the other card is Featherstorm. Which, similarly to Smasher, just makes it so your opponent can't activate monster effects for a turn. You basically turn skip most decks in the game, and it's just annoying. And a lot of decks can use it, like with Thrust, get out the Featherstorm, and then just make any Xyz or Link that's a winged beast. Even if you get hand trapped, a lot of decks can still do it. Like Ryzeal can make Castell, Yami can make, I think, some random bird Xyz or something like that. And there are definitely more options for this to happen in the future. I feel like this card should have already been banned when Fluandreeze was good, but it's still not being banned here, even if it kind of, with Ryzeal falling off a little bit, it did go down in presence for sure, but that doesn't make it any less frustrating and unhealthy. So I feel like cards like that just they just shouldn't be a thing. And with banning Paradise Smasher, Konami basically says that they agree, and they still leave them around. I don't know. So, all in all, decent list, I think. Surprisingly harsh to even the new decks, particularly Vanquish Soul, obviously. But I'm excited. The deck that obviously profits most from this is Dracotail. Like, Dracotail, it was a little bit worse than the other two Justice Hunters archetypes, but the Yummy matchup already was pretty decent, whereas the Vanquish Soul matchup was like the difficult one. Like, that deck just had too high of a ceiling for Dracotail to consistently beat. Going second, especially like pre-side, post-side, there definitely were some ways, but still really difficult. So that deck, like, getting hit significantly, possibly leaving the meta, definitely benefits Dracotail a lot, which have not been hit here. There are also some other interesting things, like you probably can still play Canine Crystron, like maybe Canine Vanquish Soul stays around somewhat. You could also, like, Canine Orchest has some potential, things like that. The Gem Knight deck that could emerge back again, like Mitsurugi and Malice, definitely are not leaving anytime soon with this list. And obviously all the other decks, Lunalight, Memento, all also come back a little bit to the front. I'm interested to see if some people can do something with Snake Eyes. Although I hope they don't do too much, but without Apple it's probably fine. So yeah, exciting list, and interested to see what it brings. But with that, tell me what you think of the list down in the comments below, like and subscribe, and have a great new format starting next Monday.